So how much do you think a theater stagehand makes? $35,000, $50,000? What if I told you $500,000? Would you believe me? Well, you better. That's what the top 5 union stagehands in New York City's renowned Carnegie Hall brought home last year. And Mike Maiello says this proves unions are great for the middle class. That's a flip side.
David, I love it when I see highly skilled, highly trained workers making banker's salary in an activity that actually enriches society rather than imperils it. You know, they never had to bail out Carnegie Hall.
But good for the middle class, Victoria?
No, I mean, look, maybe these guys deserve it. These are technical jobs. They were supposedly working 80-hour weeks. Props to them. But this isn't where unions help America. If you want to look to what unions do to America, let's look to Detroit, Mike. 17.3% unemployment. That's a heavily unionized city. It doesn't help the middle class. It costs jobs in the long run.
Quentin, good or bad for the middle class?
I think it's great because it finally solves our argument about whether or not salaries should be capped. If you think these salaries should be capped, you must think Wall Street salaries should be capped. Those 5 guys add up to 1/6,000th of what Goldman Sachs is going to pay out in bonuses. You know what the big difference is? These guys didn't need government money to survive.
So, Steve, if it's good enough for the stagehands, it's good enough for Wall Street, there should be no caps at all.
Well, in terms of that, they should have better negotiators, but that's saying that's good for the middle class, like saying the mafia is good for the middle class, too, extort the money. Where does the money come from? Why are these ticket prices so high? Why are they so unaffordable? Why don't we have even more stage plays in New York City? Because these guys get so much that it makes it impossible to get the money to do it. And middle class pays for it. Less culture for the middle class. How's that good?
Mike Jose.
I need all the culture I can get. No, Steve's right. The average union worker makes 16% more than his counterpart not in the union. But it's bad for the overall economy. If you look at the countries with the highest union membership, Sweden, Germany, versus countries with low union membership, Hong Kong, United States. The United States and Hong Kong have a much higher GDP per person than Sweden or Germany.
Well, let's broaden it again. Are the unions, which represent about 7% of the private workforce, are they good or bad for the middle class?
Well, if they were so great, why is it just 7% or 12% of the workforce, right? David, why is the membership declining? And, you know, I looked at some numbers from, watch this, the CBO former director, Peter Orszag. He put out a report while CBO director. He found that the middle class did really well while union membership was declining. 91 to 2005, middle class wages and the poor class wages went up about, he's saying, around 30%, 35%. Art Laffer also put out a book saying 8 of the 10 worst performing states in this country have the most unionized workforces, whereas 7 out of the 10 best performing states have those rules where they don't allow unions to step in and stomp all over management.
And, Mike, the taxpayers just gave the UAW about 18% of GM and about 67% of Chrysler. Is that good for the middle class?
No, I never agreed with the Chrysler bailout. But I would like to point out, because I have my degree is in theater, I am a playwright instead of a stagehand. I've done theater around the country.
So you don't just play one on TV?
I try my best here. New York is one of the only places, it's the most unionized theatrical industry in the country, and it's one of the few places where you can actually make a living in theater. Elsewhere,
well,
there's not even a chance, though. Like, you know, you're basically doing community theater for free. There's a real industry here where people make a living, and that's because of that.
But did you ever hear the phrase
Mike,
struggling actor? I mean, that kind of goes with the territory,
I've lived
doesn't
as a struggling scribbler.
And you have to
That's supply and demand,
That's why there's less employment opportunity, precisely because it's so hard to get the funding to have even more and more theater.
Victoria, go ahead. You want it in.
Well, Mike, that's supply and demand, too. I mean, people fly to New York to see great theater. So you're kind of, when you talk about unions, you have to look at the public sector, where 40% of jobs are unionized. That hurts the middle class. We pay higher wages, and frankly, I think we get lower services for it. So the middle class is left with higher taxes and not great services.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, and you know, by the way, the middle class is almost getting run over in the middle of Times Square trying to get cheaper tickets at the tickets booth, right? And also, by the way, we have a ticket scalping black market. Why? Because the ticket prices are so high. I actually agree with Steve. Boy, I wish I'd die and come back as a stagehand. $500,000
What's that, Quentin? Go ahead.
Scalping is higher price tickets. That means demand is robust. I love this argument,
No, it's not. It means they're high. It means the ticket prices are high, and you can get a better rate in the black market.
Now, Mike, if you earn $1 a year and I earn $100 million a year, we have a per capita income of $50 million and 50 cents. Sounds good to me. But, you know, out in the world, We just had a couple of graphics go by, and it said average household income $50,000 a year.
Median income in the United States. Median income in the United States trumps virtually every other country in the world. Even in our health care system, which has got a lot of flaws in it, in terms of outcomes for things like cancer and heart disease, we're far better than the rest of the world.
Michael Zanian, go ahead.
I don't object to anybody's earnings. What I object to about the union is it doesn't get paid based on performance. You get paid by length of tenure, so it doesn't encourage high productivity. And when the theaters went on strike a couple of years ago, it devastated all those middle-class people that had jobs and entertainment surrounding the theaters.
That's the problem I have with a lot of these union deals. Very often they're shoved through, not based on the quality of the work, but based on seniority and the degree to which they're shoved down management's throats.
We have the highest quality theater in the world, you know? I mean, I can't wait to see all the honor. I mean,
Victoria,
we've got really great shows.
And declining attendance.
But Michael, look at our schools. I wouldn't say we have the highest quality schools, and I think a lot of blame rests with unions, where it's impossible to fire a lousy teacher. That doesn't do a service to anyone.
It's the sweetheart deals that bother people, Steve. That's what bothers people about the bailouts, frankly, too.
Yeah, it's all a lack of accountability. And by the way, on schools, charter schools, they've now found are doing far, far better than the government-run schools.
And the hypocrisy from the Obama White House is unbelievable. He's demanding pay for performance from CEOs, but he isn't saying anything about union workers.
Last word from Michael Zanian. Well, newspaper.